Hi, I'm Nancy Flinchbaugh with First Baptist Church Springfield, Ohio, and today I'm interviewing Dwight Bolick, our International Ministries mission partner. Dwight and his wife Barb are regional consultants for IberoAmerica and the Caribbean. Barb's ministry focuses on girls' discipleship and education. Dwight works with the Continental Christian Network for Peace Partners. He is training in beekeeping and rainwater harvesting, installing model systems, and encouraging the use of this water collection method in addressing the severe water crises in Central America and Cuba. In this interview, I'll talk to him about his work as a missionary in Central America. Well, hello, this is Nancy Flinchbaugh with First Baptist Church, and I'm happy today to talk to our missionary, Dwight Bolick, who's doing great things in Central America. And we've been supporting you now a couple of years and want to see what more we can do and get some updated news from you. So I just had a few questions. I wondered, first of all, how did you and your wife become missionaries with the American Baptist Church?
Okay. Yeah, well, we've been with American Baptist International Ministries now for almost 25 years.
Wow.
I have a long history in of answering the call, I guess you'd say. I grew up in a Baptist pastor's home, always hearing about missionaries being heroes, reading National Geographic. And early on in teenage years, got involved in organic gardening and really saw myself maybe helping back in the 70s. World hunger. It's a big item, and just always felt the call in some way, undefined, to work with the poor, serve the poor, teach them to grow their own food, anything. I don't know what, but so I went to seminary, and after seminary, I kind of got off track and worked in finance industry for about 7 years, and then finally, through my involvement in a church in Austin, Texas, it was where I met my wife. We were both going on mission trips to the border, to the Mexican border. I was asked to go and help them plant gardens for an orphanage. Um, and really, I credit my wife in many ways for giving me the courage to go ahead and do what I had dreamed of doing all these years. And so sometime along there, we heard Tony Campolo speaking about Eastern College in Philadelphia and the program there for economic development missionaries. So her encouragement, we loaded up and moved to Philadelphia, and I enrolled in the MBA program at Eastern College. And it was there that we made contact with American Baptist International Ministries. We had been in American Baptist Church in Austin anyway, and then a cooperative Baptist. So my wife had a job working at International Ministries, and little by little, the Latin American area director began kind of cultivating us and recruiting us. And by the end of my time at school, we started the discernment process of working with international ministries in Latin America is where we wanted to. And so one thing led to another that led us to Chile. And we were in Chile for almost 20 years doing development type work. My wife with women and children developed a girls club program that she's involved in now in 6 Latin American countries. And I did a number of things. I did beekeeping. I did earthquake disaster relief. I did, of course, teaching in a theological institute. And then finally, this leads into your next question. A lot of things. We saw the climate change in Chile over those years. And towards the last 5 years of my time there, we realized that all of the Mapuche, the indigenous people that we worked with in rural areas, farmers, subsistence farmers, always complaining about there's no water in the summer. And yet Chile gets abundant rainfall, but they depend for their water sources from springs that flow down from the mountains. And over the long period of time we were there, we saw a pattern with climate change, of longer droughts, actually with the forestry industry of planting eucalyptus trees, just drying up the underground water sources. And so I said, well, why don't you do rainwater harvesting to them? And they said, well, why don't you show us how? And so that's how it got started. I got a grant from International Ministries, and we installed over those last years, probably over 30 rainwater harvesting demonstration projects just to plant the idea, just to plant the seed of here's something that's a simple solution that you can do to supplement your water sources. And it's taking advantage of the abundant rainfall that there is.
So you did that in Chile, and now when you
Yeah.
switched your focus to Central America, was that when you located to Austin? Your wife
Well,
was in school? Did she
yeah,
go back to school?
right. We came, we raised both our boys in Chile. We came to a point where, it was time to leave. We'd done about everything we could there. It was a hard decision to leave, but we needed to. My wife needed to. She's doing a PhD at Texas A&M in youth development, which is related to her ministries with the Girls Clubs programs. And so we needed to relocate here. We needed to find a place for me. And our area director, with our partners in Central America, identified this place that I could plug in and continue introducing rainwater harvesting with one of our other missionaries, Ricardo Mayol, who has the Continental Christian Network for Peace in Central America and the Caribbean. And a lot of our work with Recompas, as it's called in Spanish, is accompanying communities throughout Central America that are in resistance to big projects that are destroying their water or contaminating their water sources or displacing them from that. And so part of our whole project is to set up demonstration rainwater harvesting projects. Another instance of where a lot of places in the world you find people sitting under a roof with rain pouring down off the roof and saying we have no water. And so this is just a simple, appropriate technology type solution to say, here's something you can do to regain autonomy over your own water system, show an example for the community. It's not the panacea to everything, but it's a simple solution to empower the people to solve their own problems.
Just reading your newsletter, you've helped set up several of those demonstrations in the past October and November. You were in.
Yeah. This has been going on for 3 or 4 years, where we've tried to do maybe 12 projects each year. So we've done a number of maybe over 20 projects in Central America now. And this year, trying to do 3 or 4 more in Guatemala and El Salvador, and working in Cuba also. We have one going in Cuba, and I'm going back there soon to get another one started. So a lot of my work, has to be remote, on Zoom or on email or on phone calls. And then I go down there periodically to do trainings and to troubleshoot,
So
and to encourage. Yeah.
So what you're doing is kind of like what we might have in our yard, a rain barrel, but it's a larger structure.
Yeah. Maybe you saw some pictures in the newsletter, but that's the typical one. These tanks that we use, and we're working with a limited budget also, too. So we don't have unlimited resources to put in giant tanks. So we put in, generally with the budget that we have, maybe 4 small tanks that contain 2,500 liters of water. And so that they'll use those tanks largely in schools to provide water for the bathrooms and washing hands. But yeah, very similar to what you all might do with like one of those blue barrels, on a smaller scale. But you can do this on a large scale, as well.
I mean, it's also possible to purify the water, and use it for
It
drinking or?
it is, yeah. Here in Texas, it's like it's kind of a cottage industry. There are businesses that install rainwater harvesting systems for homes. There are some that use it for their entire, even for the swimming pool here in Texas. But there are purification. There's a number of 4 or 5 different options that at the tail end where you can purify the water. We're not doing that at the moment in our projects. We're telling them if you're going to consume the water, you need to boil it. We do want to get into, and this is one way possible help is throughout Central America, other organizations distribute these smaller ceramic filters that they can pour water in, and it purifies the water in smaller quantities, but it's something that's adaptable to that context. But that's
Yes,
like the
that
next
was
stage. I want to get into teaching them how to purify their water. Another is to set up sand filters. Yeah.
so in terms of what more our congregation could do to help you, that is that one of the things you're suggesting that we could
That's one thing. Yeah, contributions towards the rainwater project. And you would do that through International Ministries as a specifics gift, to the Bolick's rainwater project. Yeah.
I mean, were you also suggesting to specifically to buy filters or just to donate the
Well,
money that
no,
you
just
need?
the funds for us to buy the filters. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Because they're available I know in Guatemala, one place I'm looking at.
Mhm. So do you have any advice to us as a creation justice congregation? What more you would like to see us doing?
Oh, wow. It sounds like you're doing a tremendous amount already just in communicating the importance of addressing climate change and all. What
Mhm.
I gravitate towards myself, not knowing, not even having a visual picture of your church or the grounds or anything, but getting into maybe community gardens or really cultivating the church grounds, doing rainwater harvesting there or composting, um, things that can teach the children. That's what comes to mind.
Okay.
It sounds
We
like you're
thought
doing
a
a
little bit
tremendous.
about that. We have a vacant lot next to the church and a rental property, and we were thinking about what we could do on that vacant lot, but now I think they're gonna sell those 2 properties. But we are looking at native plants. I know there's an area where they're gonna had to take out some bushes that were dying and they're gonna put in some native plants there. And yeah, so we have been thinking about that a little bit. We thought about getting solar panels, but at this point, we haven't gone ahead with that idea yet. But yeah, we are looking at how we can reduce our carbon footprint as a church, also trying to
Yeah.
have the energy analysis. And but yeah, those are good suggestions to think about whether we can compost on the church property. We do have some
Yeah.
area around the church building.
A lot of it is kind of turning your church into a learning center, with good signage and explaining to the community everything that you're doing and kind of a training center for things like that, even if you're, not going to use the compost there.
And that's a great idea. Well, thank you so much for talking with me and thank you for the work you're doing. And we'll continue to support you and hope we can encourage you in your work there.
Yeah,
So,
well, thank you very much. Thank you for the church's support and thank you for this opportunity. I've enjoyed it.
okay, thank you, Dwight,
Blessings on your work. Okay.
and on yours too.
Thank you.
Here you can see 2 pictures from his rainwater capture projects in Central America. Thank you for listening, and I just want to let you know you can support Dwight's water projects by designated giving on the International Ministries website at internationalministries.org/author/BD-Bolick/